All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. What feels like the hottest sector at the moment really is still pushing right now, right? So, we're going to look at the same four quantum stocks right now: QUBT, IONQ, RGTI, and QBTS. Truth be told, I don't know what is the most exciting thing right now, all right? IONQ breaking what seemingly is. I want one more candle. I'll at least preface that, but it looks like we are breaking the golden line on IONQ. It looks like this thing is ready to just run up all-time highs. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. RGTI nearly 30% day right there. Big, big candle. Honestly, though, I think the biggest thing for me is NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ went from up here to maybe losing the 8 and the 20, maybe worrying about the 50 moving average. No, no, no. We never lose the golden line. We use that 8 moving average really well. And I mean, look, I know this doesn't look like a big candle, but this is a monster NASDAQ candle. This is a good candle over the 8 and the 20. We are well over 50% of the biggest candle to the left. It really feels like this is ready to break 19,300 and just keep going into all-time highs as well. And when the NASDAQ is doing well, when the S&P 500 looks just as good, arguably probably a little better, oh man, all you can do is think to yourself, the tech ocean is calm and we can get on our little tech boats, these little tickers that we go on, and just go deep, deep, deep into the good ocean. You know what I mean? So I love it when the indices are good. I love it when the sector is hot. I love it when the volume pretty much across all four of these is destroying the 50-day vol. There is such good here, and my goodness, this is what I love. You know what I mean? So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we gonna do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. Daily and the weekly. There we go. Sorry. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So quantum computing as a whole has been beautiful, all right? I don't even know if I want to talk about these individually or just as a whole right now, but there really has been so much good here, you know? And I think a lot of what's happening with the quantum computing sector is it's very much connecting itself to other really hot and really good sectors as well, right? AI is very much integrated into this, right? Like AI is part of the supercomputers themselves. The supercomputers are what makes the AI machine and brain even better. A lot of nuclear stocks are doing really well right now, and quantum computing is part of that, right? There is a lot of danger when you think about nuclear stuff, right? Chernobyl, this and that. I don't know if there's actually a this and that, but Chernobyl is big enough to be by itself, right? So they're using these supercomputers to make better than human decisions, to make things safer, right? All of a sudden, all these bigger companies are getting into the quantum computing game. It is very much, the sector itself is hot, and that's a good thing. But as you can start to branch out and touch other hot sectors too, oh my goodness, there's only so much that can happen, and all that really tends to happen is up, right? So again, I don't know if I'm gonna do, I think as I'm saying these words, I think it's gonna be an overall kind of video, right? But look, breaks all 5 and fly, bouncing on the 8 moving average, right? IONQ has been doing it, in my opinion, the best of them all. IONQ breaks all 5 and it flies for sure, right? When you go from 10 to 30 plus, that's flying in my book. But what I really love about it is just how consistent that slope is. There's no wild like ups, right? You know what I mean? Like this is just very smooth sailing, just bouncing on the 8 like a champion. Look, QUBT was doing the same thing too, don't get me wrong, right? But this one goes a little more parabolic than that like consistent line. And hey, end of the day, the eight's still able to kind of catch it and continue with it, right? So sticking with IONQ again, I mentioned in the beginning of the video, look, when the whole sector is able to live on the 50-day line, let alone beat it and break it so many days, that's a wild level of strength right there. Because look, it's difficult just for individual stocks to do this, but for the entire sector, because again, there's a lot of tickers, right? And generally speaking, people are going to pile on to the best one. So yeah, maybe you'll see a couple that are able to do it, but like when the entire sector is pretty much living and doing well, that means there's so much good. There's so many different places you can put the money and not really worry. That's, I'm telling you, the strength of the sector is slightly unreal. I'll come back to IONQ, but listen, breaking a golden line is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And I mean, there's so like it just when it's easy to see it on the weekly. When you can get into this all-time high world, there are no resistances. There's no educated line for me to draw and say, okay, this is the next wall we're gonna hit, right? I essentially start thinking 20%, then 20%, then 20%, then 20% until something ends up happening. Maybe it gets too hot or whatever it might be, right? But this is a good, I mean, again, I'll come back and do the technicals. Let me just kind of keep going through it. But RGTI, let's come into this next one, right? So again, this one didn't have necessarily as long a run over the 50, but again, it's the sector since about here. It's been over the app. We can see it. The volume right here was 8 million. It should have only been 3 million. This one's a little bit on the lower side. Excuse me. You can actually see it even on this one. Our volume was 4.7 instead of the 4.4 white average line, right? So even this RGTI, this thing is still over the volume. Again, breaking all and starting to fly, right? RGTI and QBTS on the technical side, I was saying these ones were just a little bit behind because they hadn't broken all five as well as the first two. It started, it seems like it's going, right? QBTS one more time. It wasn't, it's starting and it seemed to be going, right? And again, you can pretty much see it since about the same window. Every single one of these four has been either at or well over the 50 line, right? So overall, I can't stress enough sector strength. I am very shocked at the strength of this sector. I really, really am. You know what I mean? But when the NASDAQ's so hot, when the S&P 500 is just as good, and I think the biggest point is when this hot sector can connect itself to other hot sectors and in a meaningful way, not in like a BS little like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be an AI when I'm really not. No, this thing is an AI stock. This thing is powering the brain behind the nuclear stocks that are doing really well. There are probably a lot of quantum computers in all of the space stocks that are running right now, right? Rocket Lab, Lunar, SpaceX in a little way with DXYZ. I mean, the quantum computing, the brain behind everything is no longer a human. It really isn't, right? We've come to the point where I'm sure there are way smarter humans than me watching everything and making sure that the whole thing doesn't like go down, right? But at this point, the computers are doing the work. And hey, I don't know the fundamental differences between these four, right? There was a stock twits comment that said, I believe it was QUBT. They used to maybe sell beverages back in the day, and then again, I don't know details. I'm a sincere believer that ignorance is bliss, and sometimes not knowing about a stock allows me to say, oh, we're about to break all five and fly. We're gonna ride the 8 and the 20 moving average while people are worrying about the fundamentals. I'm letting these colorful lines tell me where to put my money. You know what I mean? So, yeah, overall, I think this is a good sector thought. Let me chapter it right here at 9:35. Excuse me, sorry. Let's get into some technicals now, okay? So the common theme across the technicals really is super, super high RSIs that come back down, but not very low, just to come back super high up, come back just a little bit low and get ready to go. And I think the one thing I've been saying across a lot of my videos is, look, I very much love the RSI. I do. It's an important way of knowing when something is too hot or too cold, right? When the index is so good, and I'm obviously talking about tech stocks, so I'm obviously like I'm thinking about NASDAQ specifically. When NASDAQ is so good, and listen, NASDAQ is ready to break the golden line. The same thing I was saying with a stock on IONQ. You break the golden line, and I'm just thinking all-time highs, good, good, good. That's the exact same thing with the index, okay? As this gets ready to go and break, as we get really close to breaking 19,300, we're gonna go NASDAQ all-time highs. And what that, and look, that's a 47 RSI. There's so much room for NASDAQ to keep going. You know what I mean? As that goes up, all of a sudden a hot RSI can actually get hotter. A 30 at the bottom RSI has to actually start raising and going to 40 and 50. And hey, man, in a hot sector, maybe in 60 and 70. And that's the point that I started with, right? You generally go up to 80. You tend to come back down to maybe 50 or 40, and then you'll go back up to 80. Instead, we're going from 70 to 90 to 70 to 80 to 70 to 80 to set, like it is a little easier to say ignore an indicator if you have so much other that's good. And I mean, look at how much good there is, right? If you're over the 8 and the 20, oh man, there is no better place for your money, right? If you're over all 5 moving averages, oh my gosh, right? You got a positive MACD, your volume's just like literally check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, right? As you come into the weekly, again, there's a lot of really good things. That is an insanely high RSI of a 97. Wild. That's crazy, crazy high. But here's the thing, right? I mean, there's just so much good happening. I talked about the fact that I'm ignoring all of this back here, right? None of this matters to me because all of this is basically what I call fake trading. There's a video you can go back and see, but this is essentially the entire chart for me. And we are well over this line, which is the IPO line. If you're starting it from right here, we are well over the 20 moving average. Maybe this thing will come back down to like 625. I can see that as a maybe, but I don't even know. You know what I mean? If volume can still keep going, this MACD looks like it's ready to keep diverging up, up, up. I mean, it's a high RSI for sure, but I by no means am thinking that this thing's gonna come down heavily, right? When you actually look at the daily, what is this thing at? This thing's at 566. Okay, I think that's fair. I think for now, anything over 566 is wildly bullish. Okay, we, excuse me, sorry, my throat. We've shown a really good ability to bounce on the 8 moving average. And hey, as long as we don't lose that, I think we're wildly bullish. If that's gonna slip, I think 5 is gonna be the next line. I would start getting worried under 5. The thing is though, that's a really good 73 on the RSI. That's a really good candle that basically we never lost the biggest candle to the left, right? There were some dojis up here that were a little worrisome. That 8 resistance line I drew was a pretty good line. But hey, we're still better than the candle. We're still better than the 8 moving average. This is actually telling me I think we're gonna try to get over eight bucks. I do think that. I'm zooming out. Let's draw the next line. Dun, 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 dun. Next line is somewhere right there. I think I'll take it there. Let me zoom in. Let's make it a little bit better of a line. Oh, that was a great line. Look at that. Bottom of that, basically half of that, basically half of that. I like that line. I think we're going to go from 7 to maybe 860. I think at 860, it's going to need to cool down. We'll come back to 8. We'll have a good little calm down at 8, and then it should run to 11 as NASDAQ continues going into all-time highs. I think that's my best thoughts right now for QUBT. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Okay, IONQ. Listen, there are not that many educated things I could say at this point, okay? When a stock breaks my golden line, I'm expecting amazing things. All right. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Believe me, right? If the CFO starts stealing money, this and that, right? Believe me, there's nothing guaranteed. But right now, what's happening, and again, I keep zooming out to the weekly, there are no candles anymore. There is no place I can draw an educated line and say, you know what? I think it's going to get a little tired right here. All right. We just saw the last stock in the sector pushing a 97 RSI in the weekly, right? QUBT 97 RSI, right? Now, look, again, they're not the same stock, this and that, but there's a little bit of me that's like, you know what? I think we can maybe even push it just a little bit more because again we're over the golden line. We've got NASDAQ going. There are no resistances. That's a beautiful candle that destroyed the biggest candle to the left. This is definitely the first good candle over the golden line. So again, I would like one more for confirmation, but look, I actually sincerely doubt this is going to go below 34.50. I don't think this is going to go anywhere below 34.50. And really, my expectation is this is going to go up 20%, chill a little bit, go up 20%, chill a little. It's just going to keep making 20% increments until something next happens. You know what I mean? Because this is a beautiful MACD. It is hungry to keep diverging. That's still a really healthy 70 on the daily, right? We can still go from 70 to 80 and still feel good. And hey, today's 13% gain was only kissing the 50 line, right? Imagine one of these, even imagine one of these, right? So IONQ, oh my goodness, just so much good happening right here, all right? RGTI, let's come into this one again. You know, this one was interesting. This one was interesting because this one actually had a lot of volume. This was one of the biggest volumes overall in the market. I don't think I saw a lot of news. Let me know if there was a headline I missed. What I see is technical analysis happening right here. What I see was trying to break the 200, trying to break the 200. I'm nowhere near the 200. I'm now breaking them all. Break all five and fly. That's this right here, right? Especially when you just saw QUBT break all five and fly and kind of, you know, in the same way, it went over, couldn't quite take off, and then it started, right? IONQ, even the same thing. It struggled, it kind of did, and then it just started going, right? It feels like that's what RGTI just did, right? Rigetti, I don't know, whatever. Um, Again, big candle. We took out all of the dojis right here. We never lost that two. Again, I always say these five moving averages are way better than my human little click, right? But hey, sometimes I draw good lines, and I'm really glad we never lost that. What was a resistance became a support, and I mean, that thing just bounced. 50 moving average just golden cross the 200. That is beautiful right there. There is just a lot of up and up. Where's the next? Look at this thing. Red, this is a beautiful channel. 422 feels like it is next. Where are you right here? Maybe we'll have a little bit of trouble at 360. I really don't think so. I think that 72 RSI is low enough to feel real good about it. It does. It feels like 422 is next right here, actually. If this was going to come down, maybe it'll come down to about 280, give or take. But again, I think 422 seems a little more realistic than 280 right there. And then last on the list, QBTS. Oh man, again, it feels like this is just some good technical movement right here, right? Couldn't get over, starting to break all five and fly. We're bouncing on the 8. I mean, look, we're about to golden cross the 50 on the 100. QBTS and RGTI just felt like they were a little bit behind the 2. It seems like they are starting to catch up and go, right? So, yeah, a lot to like here. I got to draw the next line. Oh my goodness. Oof, D-Wave has some oh my goodness coming. I'm gonna try to draw this as well as I can. So I have to draw this. I do. Because after that, there is actually no candle till here. I'm gonna move that to here now. That's the next best thing I can do. All right. Okay. It feels like 560 might be coming very quickly for this stock. I'm just quiet as I'm looking at this and trying to see. Oh yeah, I even would raise it to there, and that's where we wicked this week. Look at that. That's that's the line. 380 should be next here. That's a 20% move from where we're at. 74 RSI, again, generally I know it's on the high side, but that's actually a really nice volume increase right there. It's not a crazy, like, that would have been a little crazier, but yeah, as you zoom out, there's actually a very nice little healthy climb here. Where's your weekly at? Look at that, 83, right? All the weeklies are a little high, but again, we just saw a 97 out there, right? I think this is very, very bullish over 260. As long as this doesn't lose 260, um, like I said, I think there's a real good shot at 560 right around the corner. And really, the 8 moving average in not too long is probably going to pass that 262. So really, just hold the 8 moving average and it should do well. Hey, the sector is still looking good as long as NASDAQ still keeps it. I mean, my. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you all so, so much.